Okay, so let's talk about mommies for a little bit. So we have Mother's Day, and in my opinion, we are all mothers in a sense. Even if we don't have children, we carry that motherly nurturing energy. Just like we have that masculine energy, we all have that feminine energy too. Sometimes that feminine energy, where that mother and nurturing energy kind of falls into, sometimes that can, kind of be ignored, or it can be pushed down and it can go dormant a little bit, because during society or maybe during our upbringings we're kind of conditioned to kind of build this hard exterior shell, and so we take on a little bit more of this masculine energy, and we, instead don't embrace that feminine energy so much, that motherly energy. And so it kind of gets pushed dormant, but we all have that. We all have that motherly, nurturing type of energy. And then, when you think about why, if you're somebody who maybe has that harder exterior shell and maybe showing that nurturing side and that vulnerability that you would have with that feminine energy is, maybe that's a little bit difficult for you. Do you ever stop and ask yourself why? Why is it like that? Is it because of your upbringing and because of your childhood or your relationship that you had with your mother? Maybe you didn't have a good one. Maybe your relationship's really been jeopardized. Maybe it's very distant. Maybe your mother was one that was abusive, physically or verbally, or maybe you were neglected as a child. And, all those things happen sometimes, and it's really sad when they do. But do you ever stop and wonder why they happened? And I don't mean blaming yourself, but really thinking about what triggered it in your own mother to behave in those ways, that has, carried on and impacted you as a child growing up and now impacting you as an adult. Okay, so this is it's like a generational curse. It's a chain reaction. Somebody has to stop it sometime. And, if you stop and think about why this happens, if you're able to stop and think about, why did my mother do this? How was she treated when she grew up? How did this happen with them? How was my grandmother treated? How was my great-grandmother treated? These generational curses carry on from generation to generation to generation, hence the name, right? But sometimes you'll have it where it almost seems like it skips a generation or two and everything is fine, and then all of a sudden it appears again, later down the road. So you might have your great-great-grandmother who suffered severe abuse, but then great-grandma and grandma, just phenomenal motherly skills. They did great. And then it came to your own mother, who then was all of a sudden, maybe they were neglectful or they were abusive again towards you, and so you question, well, what's wrong with me? This, my mother didn't suffer like that, so why is she doing this to me? Well, because that generational curse can do that. It's like it's carried on, but it's like it goes kind of dormant and it doesn't resurface, and then all of a sudden there it is. Something triggers that, something brings that out, and it resurfaces. You were not living your mom's life and walking in her shoes throughout life in order to really know everything that happened. Something may have happened that it could have been something unrelated really to anything that had to do with her mother. It might have had to do with a neighbor or a friend or anything really that triggered that generational curse to resurface again. And now it's something that you're experiencing as a child by the hands of your own mother, and you can't figure out why. Then as an adult, you carry that with you. As an adult, if you're able to actually take a step back and kind of think about that a little bit, and see it, and understand basically that it's not something that you did. It's not something that your mother wasn't intentionally trying to traumatize and harm you while you were growing up. Trust me, they're not doing that. They're trying to love you, and they're trying to love you the best they know how. Phew! Sorry. Anyway, so mothers are constantly trying to do the best that they can. They love their children, and they try to do the best they can when it comes to raising their children and loving their children. But sometimes we just don't know how to do it. We don't know what is going to work best in each scenario. And being a mom is frustrating, and it's hard, and it gets really stressful. And sometimes those generational curses pop out. You know, we all carry them. There's no perfect mother. There is no perfect way to be a mother. We do the best that we can, and that's all really that we can do. But no matter what, we all carry a little bit of these generational curses, right? There's always room for healing. And because there is no perfect parenting, there's no perfect mother, there never will be a perfect mother, a perfect parenting. The closest thing you're probably ever going to get to a perfect mother is Mother Earth herself. And, you know, because there is no perfection in that, there's always going to be room for mistakes. And because there's room for mistakes, there's also going to be room for learning, and there's also going to be room for healing. So no matter how your life was growing up as a child and what your relationship is like with your mother, there's a place for healing. And if your mother can't see that, maybe part of the reason that you are born to your mother and suffered at the hands of your mother, if that was the case for you, is because maybe healing that generational curse is actually your duty and your job in this life. You know, maybe it wasn't meant to be your mother's time of healing that particular area. She had other things to heal from. She would not be here on this earth if there wasn't a lesson for her, if there was not a part of the journey and she didn't have a purpose. So there was some other kind of reason that she was here, and maybe it wasn't healing that particular area of a generational curse. Maybe it was a different area of one. Maybe it was something, you know, a whole different journey in itself that you're not even aware of, that you're not affected by because your mother healed that, you know. So when these things happen and you have such a life that becomes so difficult as a child, and you suffer at the hands of your own mother, you know, stop thinking about it in a way that your mother, you know, thinking about it like that your mother hated you, or that your mother was a horrible, horrible mother. There's a hummingbird right above my head. Or that, you know, that, you know, it was just a bad relationship and a bad connection, and that these things shouldn't happen, because as hard as it is to suffer through those things sometimes they really are meant to happen, because it's a way for you to discover where your journey is and where your part in the whole scheme of things is at, and that whole universal design. You were born to your mother for a reason, and in fact, a lot of people believe you choose your mothers. Why would you choose a mother that, you know, is going to hurt you in some way, right? Well, maybe because your soul knew that you're the one that's supposed to heal that generational curse and break that chain reaction, you know. And so that being the case, if that's the case, then, you know, it kind of makes sense that you would have chosen to endure that suffering at the hands of your mother, because you needed to endure that so that you could recognize it and learn from it and learn to heal from it. And that being said, this Mother's Day, if you don't have a relationship with your mother, even if you don't talk to your mother, you know, take it upon yourself to at least offer forgiveness. Even if that forgiveness is something that you cannot do to them personally, because, you know, maybe you're just not at that point yet of being able to do that. Maybe because they won't talk to you, or because, who knows, maybe you have a restraining order against each other, you know, and you're just not legally allowed to. But take it upon yourself to open up your heart and actually forgive your mother for all of that hurt that she's done to you. And, you know, you'd be surprised at what that simple act of forgiveness can actually do for you, and not for them, but for you. And, you know, if you are somebody who still has a relationship with your mother, and, you know, if you're lucky enough that you have that, I am one of those. I have a very close and very strong, loving connection with my mother. You know, she is one of my best friends. She's one of my biggest supporters. I'm lucky in a sense that I have that. Not everybody has that, and I understand that. And that's why I just want to say that, you know, to those of you who don't have that kind of connection, you know, see if you can bring it upon yourself to actually forgive your mother, even from a distance, you know. And if you're capable of actually just taking that courage and, you know, that little bit of love that you still have for your mother, and maybe just give her a call or send her a card and just wish her a happy Mother's Day. Let her know that you're thinking about her, you know. Those generational curses, those things that you had to endure as a child, that your mother, no doubt, I can guarantee you that there's part of her that feels guilty about it. And, you know, that curse is not going to heal if somebody doesn't make that initiative and start that process. And if you are one that endured a lot of suffering by the hands of your mother, you are probably also the one that is destined to be the one that starts that healing process. And so this Mother's Day, maybe make that your goal, to start that healing process of healing that generational curse, you know, in some way, either by offering forgiveness to your mother, or distance forgiveness, or even going a step further and actually trying to you know, talk to her, give her a call, send her a letter, you know, do something for her. And at the same time, not only are you going to be doing something for her, but you're going to be healing yourself too in that process. It's a huge step, it's a huge move, and I know I'm asking a lot for some of you, but I honestly believe that everybody out there is capable of doing that. You're all capable of forgiveness. You know, you're all capable of showing that gratitude for your mothers. You would not be here if it was not for her. So regardless of what kind of relationship you have, you do have at least that to thank her for. Okay? You would not be breathing. You would not be here to see the beauty of the world, the earth, to be learning the lessons, to having the experiences, both good and bad, painful and loving, that you have had. You wouldn't be here to have any of that if it were not for your mother. You know, so try to show some type of gratitude towards that. You know, try to forgive your mother if she, you know, if it was not a very good experience with your mother. And if you're somebody that did have a good experience, if you still have that connection with your mother and you still are able to talk to her, you know, if she is still here and you still get to see her, you know, embrace that. Like, really embrace it, because they're not here forever, and the last thing you want to do is to be taking your last breaths and having regret because, you know, you never forgave your mother, or you didn't embrace the time you had with her. So, despite the differences and despite the hardships and the pain that your relationship may be with your mother, she's not going to be here forever. And, now, tomorrow is a day. Tomorrow is an excuse. Mother's Day is that excuse to start that process and try to move forward from all of that hurt and that anger and that resentment that you might carry. Tomorrow is a time to, give you that excuse or that initiative to embrace that relationship that you have with your mother, and to maybe try to build onto a relationship that has been distanced or has been destroyed. Now is a time to try to repair that and heal it. And if you're somebody that struggles with that, set your boundaries. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with giving your mom a call and saying, hey, it's Mother's Day. I was just thinking about you. I just, wanted to tell you Happy Mother's Day. Hope you're having a great day. Talk to you later. Done. But at least you acknowledged her, on her special day. And to those that have like a close relationship with your mother, like I was saying, embrace that, truly embrace it, and, love every minute that you get to spend with your mother, even if the time is like just you, even if all you're doing is listening to her nag or something like that, hey, we're moms, we nag, we do it out of love. So, and most likely when you really think about it, all that nagging that your mom does, it's really just kind of planting the seeds, and then later on in your life you end up with an experience or a situation where all of that nagging and all those nagging little seeds that your mom planted into your mind starts to bloom and grow and blossom, and now it all makes sense and you understand all of her nagging, and it was totally, there was a point behind it all. It wasn't that she was just nagging just to nag, there really was an intention behind it, and it was out of love, and it was for your best interest, or at least what she thought was your best interest, so embrace your time that you still have with your mother, if you're lucky enough to have that relationship and to have that time. So that's all. I'm gonna go enjoy my hummingbirds that keep flying about my head now.